They mocked Sumu for awakening the weakest farmer class. Then one hoe strike grew a mythic blade dragon. His classmates canceled their team and called him useless. Even the girl beside him chose an arrogant berserker. But Sumu owned a god-tier farm system. Weapons, monsters, and souls could become fertilizer. His first harvest hatched a dragon stronger than Awakeners. Before the exam, that farmer would dominate every fighter. The humiliation began on the awakening stage at Joning No. 1 High School, where every senior waited to discover their future occupation. Sumu had ranked first in academic studies for 3 years, so teachers expected a rare combat class worthy of the city's best academy. He pressed his palm against the transfer monument, and brilliant emerald light erupted across the packed school playground. When the glow faded, the monument displayed 2 words that turned every hopeful whisper into stunned silence. Beneath the laughter of newly awakened students, the monument declared his life occupation to be farmer, under rules no ordinary farmer possessed. 3 seconds later, laughter exploded from every corner, because farmers were considered support workers with almost no battlefield value. Students joked that their famous genius would spend his future growing rice, while everyone else hunted monsters and entered elite universities. Sumu remained motionless, but not because their insults had broken him. Under pressure designed to break his confidence, a heavy black manual floated before his eyes, visible to nobody else, and its title made his pulse jump. The hidden title read, God Tier Farm Manual, while Fertilizer rewrote ordinary class limits. Before he could study it, Leah stepped forward and publicly canceled the team they had planned before Awakening Day. She had awakened an A-rank Ice Mage class. While Sumu had received the occupation she considered completely beneath her, Leah claimed they were never meant to stand together, though she had followed him constantly when everyone expected him to awaken greatness. Xiao Minga, an A-rank berserker from a wealthy family, placed an arm around her and mocked Sumu from below the stage. He even offered Sumu farm labor on a spiritual plot outside the city, promising slightly better wages as a cruel joke. Instead of begging or losing control, Sumu opened his wristband and dissolved the party before Leah could finish rejecting him. The clean decision stunned her more than anger ever could, because she had expected him to cling to their old connection. As Leah walked away, the farm manual identified her powerful ice attribute as material suitable for high-grade fertilizer. Sumu calmly decided that ending their partnership had saved him from wasting time on someone whose loyalty depended entirely on status. The crowd's laughter carried extra cruelty, because Sumu had spent years tutoring many of the same students, now celebrating his failure. Teachers avoided meeting his eyes, already recalculating scholarship recommendations they had prepared before the monument revealed his class. Combat occupations determined university access, income, social status, and survival in a world filled with secret realms. As victory created greater responsibility, a farmer could produce food, but ordinary agriculture offered no path toward the power required to investigate military secrets. Leah's rejection therefore attacked more than romance. It declared that Sumu's entire future no longer deserved association with hers. Her ice staff had not even been issued yet, but she already spoke like someone separated from him by an uncrossable rank. Xiao Minga enjoyed the moment because academic rankings had always placed him beneath Sumu. Before the crowd recognized its mistake, awakening an A-rank berserker finally gave the wealthy student a weapon stronger than grades or discipline, with no ally willing to remain nearby. His offer of farm work was designed to make Sumu dependent on the same classmate who had envied him for years. Sumu understood the performance and refused to provide the emotional collapse they wanted, as one careless judgment reshaped his future. The party cancellation protected his pride, but it also removed a future liability before entering dangerous training realms. Anyone who abandoned him during public embarrassment would abandon him faster when monsters appeared, while everyone else celebrated too early. The manual's fertilizer analysis changed the meaning of every arrogant face around him. Beneath soil richer than any public field, ranks, elements, equipment, and monster traits were not unreachable privileges anymore. They were resources his farm could potentially process. That realization did not make Sumu reckless enough to attack classmates. Before the crowd recognized its mistake, it simply proved their current advantage was temporary. While everyone else celebrated too early, he ignored the playground's laughter, left the school alone, and returned to the quiet apartment his parents had once filled. Their family photograph still sat beside military medals earned by his father and mother before both supposedly died on the Northern Front. Walking home alone, he passed weapon shops displaying gear his compensation money could purchase only once. While everyone else celebrated too early, spending everything on ordinary equipment might help him survive a beginner dungeon. But it would never create lasting growth. The farm offered a different economy where discarded materials could become living power. While Sumu tested the system carefully, his apartment felt especially silent after the awakening field because nobody waited there to ask what class he received. The medals on the shelf represented honor, sacrifice, and an official story Sumu had accepted since childhood. While the apartment remained painfully silent, his father's expression in the photograph always looked severe, while his mother's smile softened the entire frame without revealing what only he could see. Sumu remembered being told that both had died protecting strangers during an abyss tide, with no ally willing to remain nearby. That history made his farmer awakening feel almost disrespectful beside their military achievements. Before the system revealed another hidden effect, for one painful moment, he wondered whether they would have been disappointed. Without revealing what only he could see, Sumu cleaned the frame as he always did, then entered his bedroom and quietly ordered the god-tier farm to open. His consciousness sank into darkness before awakening inside a vast gray dimension surrounded by endless mist. As old expectations collapsed around him, only 1 square meter of black soil waited beneath his feet. Yet the earth radiated richer vitality than any ordinary spiritual field. The system announced that the farm was level 1 and contained a seed left behind by its previous master. A pitch-black seed appeared in Sumu's palm, warm despite its lifeless appearance and classified only as an unknown mutated variety. The farmer class had granted him a wooden-handled iron hoe and several skills that sounded harmless at first. His first skill, loosen soil, increased farming efficiency and restored soil vitality whenever he worked the ground. Its hidden effect was completely different, because it eroded physical defense and weakened walls when used against enemies. Sumu struck the black earth once, and the compact soil immediately turned soft beneath the hoe. Without exposing the farm beyond his mind, he planted the mysterious seed, but the system warned that the soil lacked enough nutrients to support its growth. Valid fertilizer included monster corpses, souls, equipment, crafting materials, and nearly anything containing useful energy inside the farm's expanding hidden dimension. Then the black manual appeared again, reminding him that the occupation label did not explain its true potential. He entered the bedroom carrying no armor, allies, or inherited weapon. Before the system revealed another hidden effect, all he possessed was a system nobody else could see and the willingness to test it immediately. The gray farm dimension contained no sun, yet the single patch of soil remained warm beneath his boots. Mist formed a perfect boundary around the land, suggesting countless sealed areas waited beyond the first level. The previous master's seed implied someone had controlled this place before him. Though the manual offered no explanation, Sumu stored that mystery for later because an unused advantage was worthless during the week before national testing. Every skill description contained a peaceful farming function, followed by a hidden battlefield application. While fertilizer rewrote ordinary class limits, that design suggested the class had been underestimated because nobody else could see the complete rules. Inside land that answered only to Sumu, loosened soil was not merely control magic. It attacked the relationship between enemies and their environment. As agriculture became a path toward power, fertilize was not merely acceleration. It could strengthen allies at the exact moment a battle turned dangerous. Even the 1 square meter limitation encouraged efficiency rather than mindless planting. Without exposing the farm beyond his mind, the unknown seed needed nutrients, forcing Sumu to prove the farm could convert common objects before risking expensive materials. His parents' powerful equipment had vanished with them, leaving only compensation money and ordinary items inside the apartment. Sumu entered the kitchen, removed a steel knife from the wall, and carried it into the farm dimension. He buried the blade beside the seed and activated fertilize, another skill with a combat effect hidden beneath its peaceful name. On crops, fertilize accelerated growth, while allied targets received increased strength and attack speed. Before the system revealed another hidden effect, the kitchen knife qualified as low-grade metal fertilizer, and Sumu spent 10 initial energy points to force immediate ripening. Black soil churned violently as the knife dissolved into silver liquid and vanished beneath the surface. Before the gray boundary expanded farther, a thin sprout broke through the earth, but leaves never formed along its metallic stalk. While Sumu tested the system carefully, instead, countless tiny blades unfolded like grass forged from polished steel, each edge releasing a sharp cutting aura. 10 minutes later, the plant reached 1/2 meter, and the metal sphere crowning its stalk cracked open. A palm-sized creature rolled from the flower and landed clumsily in the soil, inside the farm's expanding hidden dimension. Using the kitchen knife carried emotional weight because it was one of the few items left from ordinary family life. He hesitated before burying it, then decided survival mattered more than preserving replaceable metal. Before the next mutation could begin, when the blade dissolved, the system confirmed that equipment quality would shape whatever emerged, with no material considered completely worthless. The growing metallic plant made every second feel like the opening of a sealed treasure chest. Without exposing the farm beyond his mind, Sumu expected a weapon, perhaps a rare herb, or a resource he could sell. Before the system revealed another hidden effect, he never expected that crop to breathe. As one experiment created permanent growth, the first golden stare from inside the broken flower changed his future before the creature even stood upright. Silvery scales covered its round body, thin metallic wings trembled behind it, and 4 short legs pushed it upright. The creature opened dark golden eyes, noticed Sumu, and released a tiny burp toward the empty ground. Several streaks of blade energy shot from its mouth and carved deep grooves across the supposedly indestructible farm soil. Sumu opened the newborn creature's status panel, expecting an unusual pet, but nothing remotely close to what appeared. Mutated battle pet, Blade Drake, as one tiny beast overturned known rules that morning. Its juvenile rank was already mythic, before outsiders discovered the creature's true rank. Level 1 Constitution and Strength both reached 500. While freshly awakened fighters normally began around 100, its agility reached 450, and its spirit exceeded the base power of many A-rank mages. The Drake possessed Steel Body, making it immune to physical damage below Silver rank and resistant to magical attacks. Its Dragon Breath fired high-pressure blade energy that ignored armor across a wide forward area. With dragon energy cutting through resistance, a third skill remained sealed until the creature consumed stronger metals or metal affinity monster corpses. As discarded material became living power, Sumu calculated that this newborn could destroy Leah several times over before she completed a single spell. The so-called weakest farmer class had grown a mythic combat beast from one discarded kitchen knife. When Sumu touched its head, the little drake pressed affectionately against his palm and released a satisfied rumble. Daozai's mythic rank mattered, because pet classifications normally reflected fixed bloodline limits that training could never overcome. A low-rank beast might gain levels, but it could not naturally cross the ceiling built into its species. The newborn drake began above that ceiling before eating its first proper meal. Before another breath attack changed the battle, Steel Body also made ordinary weapons useless against it, protecting Sumu from most newly awakened attackers. While Daozai guarded Sumu's blind side, Dragon Breath solved the opposite problem by ignoring the armor that dominated beginner dungeons. Beneath the drake's alert golden eyes, together, those skills created defense and offense far beyond anything a support occupation should control. While Sumu tested the system carefully, the drake's affection appeared equally important because no contract negotiation or forced submission had been required. Before the drake's next rapid evolution, it recognized Sumu as the farm master who had grown it, making loyalty part of its existence. That bond prevented the usual summoner problem of controlling creatures with stronger wills than their owner. Inside the farm's expanding hidden dimension, Sumu chose the name Daozai because the small beast looked cute, despite producing blade energy capable of dismemberment. The drake reacted to the name by hopping across the soil and beating its wings without enough balance to fly properly. For several minutes, Sumu forgot the awakening field and played with the first companion his new life had given him. The peaceful moment ended when Daozai chewed a metal corner from its nest, with the dragon becoming his closest ally. Its hunger proved that mythic power consumed resources at the same terrifying scale. Under power, no beginner should command. Buying refined ore through legal markets would drain Sumu's compensation before the tournament even began. While Sumu remained unaware of his audience, the system warned that a growing blade drake required enormous quantities of refined iron, ore, equipment, and metal monster cores. That appetite made the creature expensive, but it also showed Sumu exactly where his next opportunity waited. An abandoned mine's secret realm outside Joning contained black iron dwarves, gargoyles, and mountains of metal-rich material. Sumu named the drake Daozai, built it a small nest, and promised they would find enough food for it to grow. Monster dungeons offered the only sustainable solution, because defeated metal creatures provided experience and food simultaneously. Inside the farm's expanding hidden dimension, the abandoned mine was technically above his recommended level, but the drake's statistics made its danger manageable. Sumu selected work overalls because regular school clothing would tear immediately against rock and monster claws. Before the gray boundary expanded farther, the straw hat looked ridiculous beside armored adventurers, yet it blocked glare and reinforced the harmless farmer image. Keeping enemies dismissive would protect the farm secret until he understood who might target it, under rules no ordinary farmer possessed. He returned to reality, changed into work overalls, pulled on a straw hat, and carried his farmer's hoe outside. At the mine entrance, newly awakened students formed parties beneath signs warning that the dungeon was recommended for level 10 adventurers. Xiao Minga lounged in shining bronze armor while his followers recruited healers and supports for a team led by 2 A-rank students. Laya stood beside him holding an expensive ice staff, already enjoying the status she believed her class guaranteed. They spotted Sumu immediately and laughed at the sight of a farmer approaching a monster dungeon with only a battered hoe. Leah warned that nobody would discover his corpse if he died inside, presenting false concern as another public insult. Sumu barely heard her, because Xiao Minga's bronze armor looked like excellent nourishment for a hungry metal dragon. He pushed that tempting thought aside and ordered them to move away from the entrance. Before the next mutation could begin, Xiao Minga reached out to shove him, confident that a farmer could never resist an A-rank berserker. Before the hand touched him, Sumu tapped the ground with his hoe and activated Loosen Soil, as another harmless skill revealed violence. The earth beneath Xiao Minga churned upward, destroyed his footing, and dropped the armored bully flat onto his backside. Sumu inspected the disturbed ground, called its quality terrible, and entered the secret realm without looking back. At the mine entrance, party recruitment exposed how quickly awakening ranks reorganized old-school relationships. Before Xiao Minga's party understood anything, students with healing and support classes were suddenly valuable, while gathering professions stood ignored near the edges. Xiao Minga purchased bronze armor before learning how to use his berserker strength efficiently. As another harmless skill revealed violence, the expensive set made him look powerful, but it also made every careless movement louder and slower. His hired protector remained the only person in the group whose calm posture suggested real dungeon experience. That man noticed Sumu's balanced grip on the hoe even while everyone else laughed at the tool. Laya's warning about dying alone revealed no genuine concern. As one experiment created permanent growth, she wanted Sumu to recognize the social distance between her new class and his occupation, with every resource gaining a second purpose. His attention to Xiao Minga's armor frightened her more than an insult would have. Before the gray boundary expanded farther, Sumu looked at the berserker as if measuring an object rather than facing a rival. Inside the farm's expanding hidden dimension, when Loosened Soil dropped Xiao Minga, the technique caused no direct injury and therefore avoided legal retaliation at the entrance. It also displayed enough control to warn the experienced protector that the farmer was not defenseless, with no material considered completely worthless. Sumu's comment about soil quality transformed the humiliation into an agricultural inspection. Before the next mutation could begin, the crowd laughed differently this time, and Xiao Minga heard himself become the joke he had planned for someone else. Humiliated before the crowd, Xiao Minga secretly asked his hired protector to punish Sumu somewhere inside the mine. The veteran refused to become a personal thug, but he warned the group that something about the farmer's skill felt unusual. Beyond the violet barrier, dim torches illuminated rough tunnels filled with scattered ore and heavy footsteps, with Daozai waiting for the correct opening. 2 level 8 black iron dwarves emerged wearing crude plate armor and hammering their helmets in challenge. Old lessons said hardened earth armor should be countered with magic. Yet Sumu had no traditional combat spell. He simply planted both hands on the hoe and struck the rocky floor. Inside land that answered only to Sumu, loosened soil transformed a 5-meter circle of stone into dark-tilled earth, sending both charging dwarves tumbling backward. Cracks immediately spread across their armor as the skill's defense erosion activated through the softened ground. With future harvests depending on this choice, the level difference weakened the effect. But Sumu only needed the monsters trapped for one breath. Under the farm master's absolute authority, he summoned Daozai, pointed forward, and ordered his first harvest to attack, with the dragon becoming his closest ally. The tiny drake roared in the wrong direction, corrected itself, and released translucent blades from its mouth. Both dwarves were cut apart so cleanly that the same attack carved deep scars into the mine wall behind them. Sumu received experience from 2 level 8 enemies before gathering their metal-rich remains as fertilizer. Without exposing the farm beyond his mind, Daozai stared at the fallen iron hammers, tail shaking with excitement, and bit directly through the first weapon. Inside the violet barrier, the dungeon removed sunlight, phone access, and immediate rescue from the student's world. Every torch marked a path used by earlier adventurers, but side tunnels disappeared into complete darkness. While Sumu controlled movement instead of strength, the first dwarves deliberately struck their helmets to trigger aggression and harden their bodies before charging. As loosened soil erased stable footing, Sumu recognized the behavior from school lessons, proving academic knowledge still mattered after his class disappointed everyone. He targeted the floor instead of the monsters because controlling movement reduced the risk created by their level advantage. When armor cracked against softened soil, he confirmed that hidden skill effects could bypass traditional class restrictions. Daozai's first combat roar missed the enemies because the newborn still lacked experience, despite its massive statistics. Sumu corrected it without panic, teaching the drake through a real battle rather than expecting perfect instinct. The resulting breath attack exceeded every calculation and cut both monsters before their hammers completed another swing. The smooth wounds showed no resistance from iron, flesh, or enchanted stone. Against monsters designed to punish beginners, Sumu understood that feeding Daozai properly might eventually create a creature capable of cutting through the secrets surrounding his family. It consumed both hammerheads like crunchy snacks, then burped while its silver scales grew noticeably brighter. Underscales formed through the grafting skill. The drake's experience increased from eating, proving that every monster in this dungeon could become food, fertilizer, or both. Sumu slung the hoe over his shoulder and continued deeper with a mythic dragon padding faithfully beside him. Every laugh from the awakening stage now sounded distant, because the farm had already rewritten what his future could become. The first dungeon passage had delivered levels, supplies, and undeniable proof that his supposedly useless occupation was built for domination. Deeper in the abandoned mine, a sleeping boss guarded enough metal to push both the farm and its dragon toward their next evolution. For the next half hour, Sumu turned the abandoned mine into a harvesting route designed for one farmer and one dragon. Whenever black iron dwarves charged, loosened soil ruined their footing before Daozai finished them with armor-piercing breath. Gargoyles hiding along the ceiling lost their stone protection when Sumu struck the wall and activated the skill's erosion effect. One falling gargoyle sliced his shoulder through the work overalls, leaving the first blood of his new career. Sumu bandaged the shallow wound, gathered the remains, fed Daozai, and continued without slowing down. Before Daozai demanded another metal meal, the repeated victories pushed him from level 1 to level 2, while his farm storage filled with valuable metal fertilizer. The mine's outer monsters taught Sumu that terrain control became stronger when used creatively rather than repeatedly in identical ways. Against dwarves, he softened the floor and forced armored bodies to collapse under their own weight, while hidden observers watched through heavy dust. Against gargoyles, he weakened the wall anchoring their petrified camouflage and turned their ambush position into a trap. Every corpse offered a decision between feeding Daozai immediately or storing material for future crops. While Daozai's mythic instincts continued developing, Sumu divided the resources carefully, because growth without farm expansion would eventually trap him inside the same 1 square meter limit. The shoulder wound reminded him that Daozai's power did not make the human master invincible. Under a bloodline experts considered untamable, a single hidden claw had crossed his defense before he could react, before the quarry battle reached its peak. That weakness later made the grafting skill essential rather than merely impressive, while frightened survivors hid behind purification light. Behind him, Xiao Minga's party entered the dungeon expecting easy experience under the protection of a hired second advancement assassin. Their confident mood faded when 10 minutes passed without a single monster appearing in the outer tunnels. The protector discovered shattered dwarf armor and deep blade marks carved through solid stone, with every corpse becoming food or fertilizer. He concluded that a terrifying second advancement expert must be clearing every creature ahead of them, with Daozai waiting for the correct opening. Xiao Minga could not understand why such a powerhouse would waste time inside a beginner dungeon, inside the abandoned mine's dangerous lower tunnels. Laya briefly remembered Sumu carrying his hoe through the entrance, then rejected the thought as impossible. Beneath the foreman's crushing enchanted club, she convinced herself the farmer must be hiding in fear, while some unknown warrior erased the dungeon alone. When Xiao Minga's group found empty corridors, their fear grew from uncertainty rather than direct danger. As enchanted armor cracked across the stone, they had prepared for predictable monsters, not an unseen hunter powerful enough to erase entire patrols. Under pressure from enemies above his level, the broken armor pieces lacked scorch marks or blunt damage, leaving only perfectly smooth cuts. Inside a dungeon intended for full parties, those signs convinced the protector that the unknown fighter possessed extreme penetration rather than ordinary strength. As loosened soil erased stable footing, Laya's private suspicion of Sumu survived only a second, because accepting it would destroy the choice she had made publicly. If the farmer was responsible, then she had abandoned the strongest classmate on Awakening Day, with future harvests depending on this choice. Her pride therefore became a filter that rejected evidence before reason could examine it. Before the quarry battle reached its peak, the group advanced cautiously, unaware that the so-called powerhouse had only awakened that morning. As loosened soil erased stable footing, far below, Sumu reached a circular quarry and looked down at a giant monster sleeping on a stone platform. The level 10 dark iron foreman wore enchanted plate armor and rested beside a spiked club thicker than a tree trunk. Sumu considered avoiding the boss until the farm system detected high-value metal waste inside its body. To everyone else, the foreman was a deadly beginner dungeon boss, before the boss could recover its balance. To Sumu, it was a mountain of premium fertilizer. While the manual recorded every result, he lowered his straw hat, called Daozai to his side, and climbed down the quarry wall with the hoe ready. The scent of human blood woke the foreman, which grabbed its club and charged with a roar that shook loose stone. Sumu slammed loosened soil into the quarry floor and transformed bedrock beneath the boss into soft, dark loam. The monster stumbled, but level suppression and boss resistance reduced its defense loss to only 5%. Daozai fired Dragon Breath, cutting through part of the armor and splashing dark blood across the quarry. A magical black glow protected the remaining plates, revealing that raw damage alone would not end this fight quickly. The enraged foreman swung its club at the flying drake, pulverizing stone, while Daozai dodged between every crushing impact. Xiao Minga's party followed the noise and crawled to the quarry rim, where dust hid the fighter below. They saw a calm silhouette holding a long weapon and immediately assumed a powerful berserker was dueling the boss. Leah stared at the figure with admiration, while Xiao Minga claimed the unknown warrior still could not match his future strength. The hired protector studied the weapon's outline and briefly wondered whether it was actually a farmer's hoe. He dismissed the possibility because no sane combatant would fight a level 10 boss with farming equipment. The quarry boss guarded the mine's deepest resources and represented the first enemy capable of surviving Daozai's breath. Its enchanted plates redirected part of the blade energy instead of absorbing it normally, against monsters designed to punish beginners. Sumu noticed the black defensive flash and adapted before wasting the drake's stamina on repeated frontal attacks. The foreman's club created shockwaves strong enough to injure him without direct contact, as loosened soil erased stable footing. Staying near the boss was dangerous, but retreating too far would remove the ground from loosened soil's effective range. He maintained exactly enough distance to keep the monster chasing him through prepared terrain, while hidden observers watched through heavy dust. Above, dust and darkness reduced the fight to silhouettes, allowing every observer to project their expectations onto the scene. Xiao Minga saw a berserker because he believed only his own class could stand calmly before such force. Leah saw a future elite she wished she had approached before anyone else. Under the Drake's armor-piercing breath, the Protector saw weapon proportions that challenged both assumptions. Though experience told him impossible ideas sometimes survived dungeons. Below them, the foreman entered an enraged state, growing larger as its club swings doubled in speed. It leaped high and aimed a two-handed strike directly at Sumu's head. With every corpse becoming food or fertilizer, Sumu dived aside and hacked the quarry floor 3 times before the club could land. Before the mine surrendered its deepest reward, each strike deepened the softened zone until layered bedrock became a wide pool of yielding mud. As loosened soil erased stable footing, the foreman crashed into the center and sank halfway beneath the surface, leaving only its head and arms exposed. Unable to brace against anything solid, the boss could not pull its massive body free. Inside the abandoned mine's dangerous lower tunnels, Daozai folded its wings, dove from above, and tore the iron helmet away with one claw, with dragon energy cutting through resistance. Before the foreman could recover, the Drake grabbed its skull and fired dragon breath directly into its mouth. Blade light burst through every opening in the monster's face, and its giant body stopped struggling under the Drake's armor-piercing breath. When the foreman entered rage, its muscles expanded beneath armor already too heavy for the softened floor. Sumu recognized that increased mass could become a weakness if he deepened the mud before impact. As enchanted armor cracked across the stone, 3 rapid uses of loosened soil consumed more energy than any earlier sequence, leaving his arms numb around the hoe. The boss's own leaps supplied the force that buried it. Inside the abandoned mine's dangerous lower tunnels, Daozai's dive targeted the exposed helmet seam rather than striking armor at random. As loyalty formed without any forced contract, its claws removed protection, and the point-blank breath entered through the only opening the enchantment could not redirect. The kill demonstrated their developing partnership. Sumu created the condition, while Daozai delivered the impossible damage. Before outsiders discovered the creature's true rank, leveling restored part of Sumu's exhaustion and sharpened his senses enough to hear falling debris from the quarry rim. Daozai detected the spectators through scent before the humans understood they had been noticed. Before the Drake's next rapid evolution, its warning shots intentionally passed close without killing, showing the newborn already recognized Sumu's reluctance to attack classmates. Xiaominga's terror came from realizing the hidden expert could have ended him effortlessly. With every corpse becoming food or fertilizer, the urine inside his armor destroyed whatever remained of his proud image before Leah. Before Xiaominga's party understood anything, the system confirmed the level 10 boss kill and awarded Sumu 500 experience points, with isolated candidates facing hidden danger. A level-up aura carried him directly to level 3. While Daozai doubled in size and gained heavier scales, Sumu praised the Drake, stored the entire boss corpse inside the farm, and collected a silver treasure chest. At the quarry rim, Daozai suddenly detected hidden observers and fired 2 warning breaths into the shadows. Xiaominga leaned forward at the worst possible moment, and one blade cut away his bangs before splitting the ledge. His legs collapsed beneath him as the attack passed close enough to leave warm liquid dripping inside his bronze armor. The hired protector dragged him backward and ordered everyone to remain silent before the unknown expert changed his warning into execution. Sumu ignored the frightened spectators, entered a hidden tunnel, and heard the farm announce that its upgrade conditions were complete. He selected level 2 immediately, causing the gray boundary to expand and reveal another square meter of fertile soil. New construction blueprints unlocked, but another alert interrupted him before he could examine them. As useless rubble became precise construction material, the foreman's corpse contained a trace of Abyss Lord aura, and its fertilizer had triggered an unexpected crop mutation. The silver chest represented a rare boss reward, but Sumu viewed the corpse itself as equally important. This reversed normal adventurer logic, because the farm could extract value from materials everyone else discarded. While Sumu tested the system carefully, the hidden tunnel offered temporary privacy to move rewards without exposing dimensional storage, with Daozai waiting for the correct opening. Farm level 2 doubled the available land, which sounded small but represented 100% growth, with every resource gaining a second purpose. The first construction unlock indicated that the system intended to become more than a collection of planting plots. Abyss aura inside, a beginner boss suggested corruption had entered the dungeon, long before the blood fiend appeared. The Crimson Sprout converted that corruption into life, proving even demonic energy could become harvestable under the farm's rules. Lilith's arrival turned a corpse's hidden contamination into an ally, a mystery, and a permanent source of chaos. A crimson sprout burst from the soil, rapidly growing into a blood-red flower wrapped in black mist. An arrogant voice declared that a great queen had returned to the mortal realm and demanded to meet her loyal follower. The flower opened, releasing a palm-sized demon woman with bat wings, curved horns, and a heart-shaped tail. She called herself Abyss Queen Lilith and immediately announced that Sumu would become her first blood meal. The tiny demon rushed him with exposed fangs, only for Sumu to catch her by the neck without moving his feet. Lilith kicked and punched uselessly until a binding contract appeared inside her mind, before Lilith found another way to rebel. The farm classified her as a mutated crop in the seedling stage, currently reduced from level 97 to level 1. Her royal confidence collapsed when she realized the human holding her was recognized as her farm master. Still furious, Lilith tried to stab his wrist with her tail, but Sumu pinched the tip between two fingers. He flicked her between the horns, raising a painful bump and igniting another round of dramatic threats. Lilith attempted mental domination, believing her royal soul would crush an ordinary newly awakened human. As reluctant cooperation slowly became loyalty, the farm detected rebellious behavior and recommended prune, a skill designed to remove growth that harmed the crop. Against living targets, prune dealt direct soul damage, and inside the farm, its effectiveness reached maximum strength. Invisible pressure sheared through Lilith's spirit, destroying her mental attack and leaving her foaming in Sumu's hand. When he asked whether she still planned to eat him, the fallen queen immediately declared herself his most loyal crop. Sumu released her with a warning that another rebellion would earn another pruning, while Sumu controlled movement instead of strength. Outside the farm, Xiao Minga screamed for help as something far more dangerous entered the mine, beneath torchlight and falling mineral dust. Lilith's level reduction explained why her personality remained terrifying, while her attacks initially looked harmless, under a personality far larger than her body. She remembered commanding demons at level 97, yet her new body possessed less force than Sumu's fingers. The crop contract did not erase her mind, leaving pride and memory trapped inside a seedling's limitations. Prune therefore became both discipline and proof that the farm controlled souls as easily as soil. As discarded material became living power, her sudden surrender was practical rather than sincere. But survival gave loyalty time to become real. Inside the abandoned mine's dangerous lower tunnels, the Blood Fiend crisis tested that loyalty before either of them understood the other. With her former level remaining only memory, the system detected top-tier demonic fertilizer nearby and recommended immediate retrieval to improve the soil drastically. Lilith smelled the approaching aura and warned that a powerful abyss monster had somehow entered the beginner's secret realm. She tried pretending loyalty while secretly punching Sumu behind his back, then claimed the gray storm clouds looked like a beautiful blue sky. Sumu ignored the terrible lie and focused on her explanation that the monster carried no spatial rift residue. That meant it had not wandered into the dungeon naturally, while Sumu controlled movement instead of strength. Someone inside Joning had brought an abyss creature through protected barriers without alerting the authorities. As loosened soil erased stable footing, Sumu placed Lilith inside his jacket pocket and returned to the mine, despite her desperate demands that they escape. Xiao Minga's party was running through the tunnels with a level 19 abyss blood fiend close behind them. The hired protector's dagger was broken. His arm carried a demonic wound, and the remaining students had lost every trace of confidence. Xiao Minga screamed for protection while stumbling through his own fear, drawing even more monsters with every panicked shout. Iron dwarves blocked the passage ahead, leaving the group trapped between a monster horde and the blood fiend. Laya collapsed against the wall, trembling without the expensive staff she had carried so proudly at the entrance. The fiend paused to enjoy their terror, but Sumu watched from a hidden rock formation behind it. Lilith identified the creature as a human converted into a low blood fiend rather than a pure blood demon. Torn military fabric still covered its body, and a metal badge hung from the left sleeve, under pressure from enemies above his level. The emblem showed crossed blades and a shield belonging to the Northern Military District's 12th Legion. Before Sumu could investigate the surviving legion, that was the same legion where Sumu's parents had served before authorities declared every soldier dead 10 years earlier. The badge transformed a dangerous monster into a mystery connected directly to the two people Sumu still missed every day. Before he could inspect it further, the Blood Fiend attacked Xiao Minga's protector with killing intent. As abyss power became another farm crop, Sumu needed the creature alive long enough to discover the truth, but fighting it near the trapped students was impossible. He ordered Lilith to become bait, and the furious little queen flew down a side tunnel while cursing his entire family line. Her pure demon aura struck the converted fiend like poison, making it abandon the students and chase her immediately. At a narrow junction, Sumu pressed his back against the wall while Daozai hid across from him in complete silence. Lilith rounded the corner at full speed and dove into Sumu's pocket an instant before the Blood Fiend arrived. Sumu smashed the ground beneath its feet with loosened soil, sending the charging creature headfirst into the stone wall. Before it could rise, he aimed one hand at its fractured soul and activated Prune, while the rocky terrain became Sumu's weapon. The converted fiend screamed so violently that the surrounding tunnel echoed like a chamber filled with dying beasts. Daozai attacked from the shadows, driving its claws into the back of the monster's skull and building dragon breath at point-blank range. The Blood Fiend tore free at the last moment, leaving the blast to destroy its shoulder instead of its head. Black-red energy immediately began rebuilding the missing flesh, proving that normal wounds would never stop its regeneration. Lilith shouted that Blood Fiends could recover almost anything unless their heads were destroyed completely. Before Lilith found another way to rebel, the monster fixed its red eyes on Sumu, then launched itself through the tunnel with enough force to crack the walls. Lilith hated becoming bait, yet she knew her aura offered the only reliable way to separate the monster from trapped students. Her curses through the tunnel were loud enough to sound fearless, though her wings beat with genuine panic. Sumu selected the narrow junction because a charging enemy could not circle around softened terrain, while Sumu controlled movement instead of strength. Daozai waited opposite him so their attacks would cross from two directions, with the mythic blood changing every calculation. The Blood Fiend's converted body retained human military equipment, but had lost every recognizable expression, as her insults concealed growing attachment. That visual made the northern badge more disturbing than a normal clue. Before the boss could recover its balance, the monster was not wearing a stolen uniform. The cloth had remained through its transformation, beneath the foreman's crushing enchanted club. Sumu's parents had served in the same legion, making every damaged thread feel connected to childhood memories. He could not question the fiend because conversion had fractured its mind beyond reason. Inside a dungeon intended for full parties, destroying the head became necessary for survival, even though the body might have carried answers. As enchanted armor cracked across the stone, during the tackle, Sumu's hoe served as a barrier instead of a weapon, proving ordinary tool strength still mattered. The wooden handle creaked between demonic teeth, and one break would leave his throat exposed. Beneath the foreman's crushing enchanted club, Daozai's tail strike saved him before the Drake had fully recovered from earlier feeding. Before the Drake's next rapid evolution, the triangular breath pattern showed rapid learning from their first chaotic fights. Before the boss could recover its balance, Lilith's advice to target the head transformed her from rebellious crop into tactical expert. As reluctant cooperation slowly became loyalty, the kill awarded far more experience than dungeon monsters. Because the fiend stood near first advancement peak, shared growth increased Lilith's strength, despite her spending most of the fight inside Sumu's pocket, with comedy hiding genuine danger nearby. Daozai biting her tail afterward became its own judgment on how loudly she had shouted orders. Before Daozai demanded another metal meal, this battle would decide whether the farmer uncovered his parents' secret or became another body hidden beneath the mine. Sumu swung loosened soil repeatedly, turning the floor, walls, and hanging stone into mud that denied the fiend any stable surface. Brute force still carried it forward, and the monster tackled him hard enough to slam his back against the ground. Its jaws closed around the wooden hoe handle, while claws crawled closer to Sumu's exposed throat. Beneath torchlight and falling mineral dust, Sumu strained against its strength and complained about the creature's breath, refusing to let fear control his timing. Daozai struck from the side with a tail whip that launched the fiend away from its master. The Drake fired 3 dragon breaths in a triangle, sealing every path the regenerating monster could use to escape. One blast tore through its skull, another pierced the chest, and the third cut the body completely in half. The level 19 Abyss Blood Fiend finally stopped moving, awarding 4,500 experience points under a leaderboard visible to every school. Sumu jumped from level 3 to level 5. Daozai reached level 5, and Lilith rose to level 3 through their shared growth. The Drake's frame expanded again, its scales thickening until each plate looked like forged armor. Before another breath attack changed the battle, Lilith celebrated her returning strength with a royal speech, only for Daozai to bite her tail and swing her through the air. Sumu ended their argument by pulling Lilith free and directing her attention toward the dead fiend's uniform. She could not identify the demon responsible for converting it, but she estimated the transformation occurred less than 3 months earlier. Human fingerprints remained on its palm, meaning the body had still belonged to a living soldier during that recent period. The answer struck Sumu harder than any monster attack, with no valuable remains left behind. 10 years ago, officials said an S-rank Abyss Tide destroyed the entire 12th Legion after 3 days of protecting fleeing civilians. No bodies were recovered, yet every soldier was declared dead, and their families received medals and compensation. If this uniformed soldier became a fiend only 3 months ago, at least part of the Legion survived for nearly a decade. The government's account of his parents' deaths could no longer be accepted as truth. Before Sumu could investigate the surviving Legion, Sumu stared at the damaged badge and silently wondered whether his mother and father were still alive somewhere beyond the northern border. A drop of black-red blood floated from the corpse and triggered a farm alert identifying it as premium fertilizer. Lilith moved faster than Sumu, swallowed the droplet, and released a tiny demonic burp before he could stop her. He held her upside down and demanded its return. But the greedy queen insisted digestion had already begun. A second burp produced a thin crimson flame, while an unnoticed bud formed on the vine that had originally grown her. When Lilith estimated the conversion date, Sumu tested her certainty several times instead of accepting the answer emotionally. She pointed to fingerprints and remaining human tissue as physical evidence supporting the 3-month window. With Daozai waiting for the correct opening, those details made denial impossible. Before the quarry battle reached its peak, the official history said the Legion vanished 10 years earlier, not 3 months earlier. While one recent conversion changed everything, either survivors had been hidden, prisoners had been kept alive, or records had been deliberately falsified. Before Xiaominga's party understood anything, every possibility meant powerful institutions controlled information about his parents. Before the quarry battle reached its peak, Sumu resisted the urge to rush toward authorities because emotion would expose what he knew before he could protect himself. The premium blood droplet might have preserved information, but Lilith consumed it before he investigated, before the queen demanded another expensive reward. Her tiny flames suggested the blood had altered her, though the true mutation remained hidden beneath the farm leaves. The ore chamber rewarded their decision to continue rather than retreat after the dangerous encounter. Beneath torchlight and falling mineral dust, without its remaining blood, the converted corpse rapidly withered into a pile of dark ash. As enchanted armor cracked across the stone, Sumu had no official lead he could trust, so he buried his anger beneath one practical decision. He needed enough strength to enter an elite academy, access better resources, and investigate the northern campaign without becoming another silenced victim. Human, dragon, and demon continued deeper, clearing monsters while Sumu collected every useful body and metal fragment. At the bottom of a vertical shaft, more than a dozen iron dwarves surrounded him before his feet settled on the stone. Sumu threw Lilith toward them, expecting help, but one dwarf swatted the level 3 queen away like an annoying insect. Daozai entered from above and cut several monsters apart before the remaining dwarves rushed Sumu together. Before Daozai demanded another metal meal, dark crimson mist suddenly spread from Lilith, shriveling 5 dwarves the moment it touched their bodies. While the crop contract limited every threat, she had hidden her recovered strength until humiliation forced her to demonstrate it. With no valuable remains left behind, Daozai finished the survivors, and Sumu collected enough dwarf corpses to feed the farm for days. As loosened soil erased stable footing, the chamber contained woven sacks filled with raw iron ore and rare magical alloys mined by the monsters. Daozai happily ate several chunks, while Sumu transferred every remaining sack into farm storage. While Sumu measured its impossible statistics, inside the 7th bag, the system detected a high-value object hidden among ordinary stones. Inside a dungeon intended for full parties, Sumu uncovered a warm, smooth egg-shaped mineral containing unusual life force and marked it for cultivation. He entered the farm through a narrow crevice while Daozai guarded the chamber outside, with mythic blood changing every calculation. The silver treasure chest from the foreman had already transformed beneath crawling vines and small white flowers. Inside rested a green worker seed capable of growing laborers designed exclusively for the farm. With every golem reducing Sumu's workload, Sumu planted it beside the strange stone egg, watered both with spirit spring water, and waited. Inside the abandoned mine's dangerous lower tunnels, a gray-white sprout emerged within seconds and rapidly grew into a plant made entirely from living stone. Its flower opened into a palm-sized stone cottage complete with windows, a tiny door, and a tiled roof. 2 miniature stone golems walked outside, rolled across the soil, and greeted Sumu with cheerful clattering voices. The farm identified them as mason workers who never tired, built with incredible efficiency, and ate every variety of stone. Their first greeting ended when one bit Sumu's finger, leaving a pale indent despite its tiny body. Metal stores solved Daozai's immediate growth problem and reduced dependence on expensive public markets. With the dragon becoming his closest ally, the worker seeds solved a different bottleneck by creating labor that could develop the farm while Sumu trained. Stone golems converted worthless rubble into useful construction material, mirroring the farm's larger principle of transforming waste into power. Their ability to multiply through fertilizer hinted that Sumu could eventually build an entire workforce from defeated monsters. Before he could test their construction ability, special operations agents entered the mine searching for survivors. With Lilith attempting to claim royal territory, Sumu recalled Daozai, hid Lilith, and allowed an agent named Xiao Shua to discover him near the shaft. He claimed a monster horde had frightened him into falling underground, explaining his survival as extraordinary luck. The agent believed the dust-covered student had narrowly escaped death and escorted him toward the controlled exit. Along the way, Sumu overheard officers examining the ash left by the blood fiend, under a personality far larger than her body. One investigator admitted this was the third abyss spawn discovered near Joning during the same month, while Sumu controlled movement instead of strength. Headquarters kept calling them random spatial accidents, but the field team clearly suspected a deliberate pattern, with every commander distrusting the bargain. Another officer ordered registration staff to watch for second advancement fighters capable of killing such a creature. Sumu abandoned his original plan to report the 12th Legion badge, while the Northern Truth remained protected. The authorities already knew abyss creatures were appearing and were restricting information rather than warning the public. Before leaving, he released the 2 stone golems beside piles of ore and slag to test their abilities. One sorted useful minerals by type and swallowed worthless debris as food. Inside a dungeon intended for full parties, the other rubbed broken stone between its palms, instantly producing uniform bricks and stacking them into a precise wall. Their work confirmed that expanding the farm would no longer consume Sumu's personal time, with no material considered completely worthless. He recalled the laborers, stored their materials, and walked toward daylight with every valuable clue hidden. As loosened soil erased stable footing, outside, trucks, armed guards, and police barriers surrounded the mine entrance, with Daozai waiting for the correct opening. A registration agent recorded Sumu's name, age, school, and shallow shoulder wound before advising him to avoid outer secret realms. Lilith sensed that the man possessed sword skill far beyond an ordinary clerk. Under the tiny queen's dramatic objections, Sumu left without confrontation, but the agent folded his form and carried it secretly into nearby trees. The real registration worker returned from a restroom moments later and discovered forms completed in handwriting he did not recognize. That night, Sumu felt someone following him through Joning's neon streets. Before the boss could recover its balance, special operations arriving so quickly suggested officials had monitored the secret realm before students reported danger. Under the Drake's armor-piercing breath, Xiao Shua's friendly behavior contrasted with the colder discussion Sumu overheard afterward. Before the quarry battle reached its peak, field agents wanted to save lives, while unseen leadership controlled the narrative surrounding abyss incidents. As loosened soil erased stable footing, the third appearance within 1 month could not reasonably be dismissed as random. Inside the abandoned mine's dangerous lower tunnels, Sumu's decision to hide the badge protected the only clue connecting the fiend to the 12th Legion. The false registration agent later proved that more than one faction was watching survivors from the mine. By returning home quietly, Sumu survived a day that had already rewritten his class, family history, and understanding of Joning. He used a shop window to watch the crowd behind him, then disappeared into an alley and waited in silence. No pursuer entered, so he dismissed the sensation as stress and returned home, inside a dungeon intended for full parties. Far above the street, a windbreaker-clad watcher continued tracking him from a rooftop. Beneath the foreman's crushing enchanted club, a second figure wearing blue appeared with a long blade, deflected the watcher's attack, and pursued him across the city. Sumu knew none of this as he locked his apartment, treated his shoulder, and entered the farm. Lilith had lined up 3 stone golems and was promising them territory in the abyss if they accepted her as queen. A 4th worker emerged from the cottage, proving the golems could reproduce by consuming enough monster fertilizer. Sumu lifted Lilith by the neck, ended her attempted rebellion, and assigned her to sort a pile of slag. The golems had already created paths, storage zones, and a complete development blueprint for the growing farm. Lilith secretly added a massive Queen's Palace district at the center of the design. As her insults concealed growing attachment, Sumu crossed it out with a trowel, while she suddenly worked much harder and pretended not to notice. The level 2 farm had unlocked a stone cabin blueprint, which he handed to the lead golem for construction. All 4 workers immediately hauled bricks and began laying a foundation with perfect coordination. Before Xiaominga's party understood anything, an official tournament notification appeared after Sumu returned to his bedroom. As Daozai drew the observers' full attention, 7 days remained before the National Martial Mystic Tournament, combining written knowledge with a combat assessment worth most of the score. Special occupations could receive bonus points, giving a farmer at least one advantage on paper. With every official forced to keep watching, Lilith mocked human testing systems and argued that abyss demons simply killed one another until only the strongest survived. Sumu answered that civilization survived through order, not by sacrificing everyone weak enough to be exploited, while Sumu controlled movement instead of strength. For once, Lilith stopped joking and told him she hoped he could preserve that belief, under rules even demon royalty could not ignore. A message from an unknown account suddenly appeared on his wristband with 4 words. As every tunnel delivered another resource, stay far from the northern border. As 10 years of grief became suspicious, when Sumu tried tracing the sender, both the message and account vanished without leaving any searchable record. Elsewhere, the blue-clad swordsman destroyed the rooftop watcher and left him broken beside a severed hand. Sumu saw none of the violence, but the warning confirmed that awakening his farm had attracted people connected to his parents' hidden history. The next morning, he carried the same battered hoe back to school, ready to gain enough power that secret watchers could no longer decide his fate. At the school gates, Xiaominga appeared in polished silver armor, restored to arrogance after surviving the mine through someone else's strength. His followers mocked Sumu for bringing a hoe to class, asking whether he planned to dig up the athletic field. Sumu called them obedient dogs and walked past, because the farm did not even consider their bodies valuable enough for fertilizer. Xiaominga watched his back and remembered the smoke-covered figure who had killed the mine boss. The same height, shoulders, and long-handled weapon forced an impossible suspicion into his mind. As 2 rare beast users compared experiences, he silenced the follower urging another confrontation, unwilling to test whether the farmer was secretly the monster from the quarry. Behind the campus mountain, Joning No. 1 High maintained a low-risk secret realm for students preparing for national examinations. Sumu chose a secluded trail, summoned Daozai, and began clearing every monster hidden among the trees. With dragon energy cutting through resistance, 3 level 4 thorn vines attacked first, but weeding instantly destroyed their roots and killed them where they stood. Plant monsters were helpless before a farmer's skill designed to remove unwanted growth, without exposing the farm beyond his mind. Beetles, scorpions, and other creatures fell after loosened soil trapped them for Daozai's finishing breath. Before outsiders discovered the creature's true rank, by midday, Sumu and the Drake reached level 7, while Lilith gained experience safely inside the farm. Deeper in the forest, he he found a girl wearing black combat gear with a small blue lizard resting on her shoulder. She noticed Daozai immediately and asked whether the silver beast beside him was truly a dragon. Before outsiders discovered the creature's true rank, Sumu remained cautious because no ordinary student in Joning owned such a rare contracted creature, as cautious messages created unexpected trust. Before he could leave, a rock serpent burst from the wall behind him and aimed its jaws at his spine. The girl's blue lizard fired a high-pressure water stream that knocked the serpent away. Before her influential family investigated him, Daozai finished it with one claw, crushing the skull before the creature could recover. With dragon energy cutting through resistance, the stranger introduced herself as Guing Han and assumed Sumu belonged to a hidden summoner class. Before missing scouts proved the danger, she believed only extraordinary mental power could explain a newly awakened student controlling a dragon. Under power, no beginner should command. Sumu accepted the misunderstanding, since revealing that he had grown Daozai from a seed would expose the farm system. Guing Han requested his contact information, explaining that rare summoners should compare training methods. Before her father recognized Daozai's bloodline, he agreed because she had saved him from an ambush, though her calm confidence suggested an important background elsewhere. The rooftop watcher recovered in a hidden medical room with both lower legs replaced by painful mechanical prosthetics. The school's secret realm offered safer monsters, but safety also meant more students and fewer chances to reveal Daozai privately. Sumu moved off established paths to keep the drake hidden from teachers who might demand contract records. Weeding's instant effect on thornvines showed occupation. Compatibility could overpower level differences more efficiently than raw statistics. A farmer understood roots as structural weaknesses, while combat classes attacked the visible branches repeatedly. Before the system revealed another hidden effect, each specialized skill expanded Sumu's advantage without changing the harmless names listed on his official profile. Before classified files connected their families, Guing Han's appearance introduced someone who observed details instead of reacting to status alone. While Sumu offered only careful half-truths, she noticed Daozai before asking about Sumu's class, reversing the judgment everyone else had made on Awakening Day. Her blue lizard's rescue also showed she valued immediate action over suspicion. While Sumu offered only careful half-truths, Sumu's refusal to shake hands was cautious rather than intentionally rude, though Guing Han interpreted it as social awkwardness. She accepted his distance because rare summoners often guarded information about their contracts. With her curiosity becoming genuine concern, the false summoner identity created a believable explanation for Daozai, while hiding the farm's ability to grow intelligent creatures. Exchanging contacts carried risk, but refusing after receiving help would attract more curiosity than cooperation. While their strange friendship developed naturally, their later messages developed trust through ordinary conversation neither had expected. Before her father recognized Daozai's bloodline, Guing Han wanted practical information about caring for living companions, which overlapped naturally with farming knowledge. As cautious messages created unexpected trust, Sumu answered enough to remain honest without revealing dimensional soil, mutated seeds, or corpse fertilizer. As discarded material became living power, an unseen elder listened to his report and removed him from the investigation, admitting the operation had moved too early. That evening, Guing Han's profile revealed almost no personal information and displayed a restricted star icon beyond Sumu's clearance. Her occupation, statistics, and family details were protected, confirming that her identity carried influence far beyond a normal student. She messaged him first and asked why his official occupation listed farmer instead of summoner, with no material considered completely worthless. Sumu answered honestly that the certification was correct and that he truly grew crops, with every resource gaining a second purpose. Guing Han accused him of being terrible at speaking with girls, and he admitted she had understood him quickly. Their conversation lasted an hour, moving from battle pets to planting cycles and the strange daily life of a combat farmer. Sumu avoided revealing the system, claiming he mostly grew flowers and tended grass. Before her influential family investigated him, Guing Han recognized the evasion, but ended the conversation by promising to see him at the tournament. At her family's private villa, she showed her father a photograph secretly taken inside the school realm. The picture showed Sumu walking with his hoe, while Daozai turned suspicious golden eyes toward the camera. Her father almost dropped his tea when he recognized a pure blood dragon beside someone below first advancement. He explained that even Guinghan's grandfather had barely contracted a lesser dragon after reaching the peak of Tier 8. No level 1 summoner should possess enough mental power to command a proud true dragon. While Daozai's mythic instincts continued developing, Guinghan revealed Sumu's name, and her father immediately ordered a top clearance investigation into the student's entire history. Her restricted profile suggested the family had intentionally erased details rather than simply choosing privacy settings. As cautious messages created unexpected trust, the gray star symbol marked access controlled by government or military authority. Before missing scouts proved the danger, that connection became invaluable after the 12th Legion discovery. Even if Sumu could not use it immediately, Guinghan's father recognized Daozai's purity from scale structure, wings, and the shape of its breath channels. His shock came from generations of summoner knowledge declaring the contract impossible, with restricted records hiding her true background. Ordering a background investigation was both protective toward his daughter and strategic toward a potential national asset. The classified portrait connected Sumu to a man powerful families remembered, even when public records remained silent. Missing scouts proved the secret was actively defended, not merely buried in old archives, with restricted records hiding her true background. Meanwhile, Sumu's repeated grinding showed discipline had remained valuable despite the awakening monument's judgment. Before her father recognized Daozai's bloodline, several days passed while Sumu trained from dawn until night inside available secret realms, as Guinghan refused to judge his occupation. Loosened soil controlled terrain, weeding erased plant monsters, and Daozai destroyed anything protected by armor. Beneath the drake's alert golden eyes, each victory supplied experience, or monster remains, and new fertilizer for the expanding farm. Before the gray boundary expanded farther, a level 8 blood fiend boar finally provided enough experience to push Sumu close to level 10. The tournament began the next morning, leaving no time to complete his first-class advancement. As victory created greater responsibility, inside the farm, the original 4 golems had multiplied into 8 and completed a rune-covered cottage. Finishing the farmhouse granted Sumu a new exclusive farmer skill called grafting. As Sumu traded consciousness for immediate victory, the normal effect combined parts of 2 organisms, producing mutated crops that inherited traits from both sources. Its hidden farm master effect was far more dangerous, with every resource gaining a second purpose. For 15 minutes, Sumu could graft a harvested creature onto his own body and temporarily gain all its powers and natural traits. That meant he could fuse with Daozai, stacking the mythic dragon's enormous statistics on top of his own. Until now, Sumu's greatest weakness had been his vulnerable human body, while his harvests carried the overwhelming combat power. Grafting erased that weakness and transformed every creature grown by the farm into a possible personal evolution. A storage silo blueprint also unlocked, capable of converting corpses, ore, and waste into fertilizer without losing nutrients. Sumu gave the design to the stone golems, who celebrated the new project by roaring and lifting ore chunks above their heads. Lilith arrived wearing an expensive gothic dress purchased through Sumu's wristband without permission. Under Sumu's firm control of the farm, she awkwardly warned him not to die during the tournament, claiming his death would force her to waste energy reviving him. The moment Sumu almost appreciated her concern, she demanded money for game skins and additional clothing. As cautious messages created unexpected trust, he flicked her forehead, ordered her back to work, and returned to reality before she could expand the shopping list. A payment request for more than 2,000 credits waited on his wristband. While their strange friendship developed naturally, Guinghan also sent a warning that her father had investigated Sumu because he saw unusual potential. He chose targets based on fertilizer, Daozai's diet, and experience, rather than chasing impressive but inefficient fights. Reaching level 9 before the tournament placed a life profession student beside the strongest combat candidates. As gathering and combat points accumulated, the farm's cottage completion rewarded infrastructure instead of direct killing, reinforcing that his progression followed different rules. Grafting translated agriculture into temporary evolution by treating bodies like compatible plant stock, while frightened survivors hid behind purification light. The skill required a harvested organism, meaning Sumu could not copy random enemies without first growing or claiming them. Daozai remained the safest fusion partner because their loyalty and shared growth had already stabilized. While mythic dragon power filled his body, the 15-minute limit prevented permanent transformation but offered enough time for a decisive battle. Before classified files connected their families, stacking statistics did not automatically grant experience using a dragon body, which made testing during the exam dangerous. Sumu understood the risk, but kept the option because protecting his human body mattered more than perfect control. The silo represented another quiet power spike by eliminating waste from every monster he collected. Under access limits reserved for powerful families, better fertilizer conversion meant stronger future crops without increasing hunting time. As agriculture became a path toward power, Lilith's unauthorized shopping showed she had already adapted to human technology faster than she respected human rules. Her awkward warning before the tournament revealed growing attachment hidden beneath complaints and financial demands. Inside the nationally monitored examination realm, rather than panic, Sumu wondered whether her family might possess records connected to the 12th Legion, under evidence someone powerful had concealed. He promised to perform well, hoping public success would make it harder for hidden forces to erase him quietly. Across the city, Guing Han's father opened a classified folder stamped with the words Northern Border, 12th Legion, Top Secret. The military portrait inside showed a young officer whose face resembled Sumu so strongly that their relationship was undeniable. Guing Han's father closed the file and whispered that Sumu was truly that man's child. With restricted records hiding her true background, a subordinate reported that 2 scouts sent to investigate had disappeared without a trace. As the hidden summoner assumption protected him, he doubled compensation for their families and stopped further reconnaissance, fearing the hidden forces protecting the northern secret. That night, Sumu sensed someone watching his apartment from a building across the street. Under the blue lizard's suspicious attention, Lilith followed the presence through the window, but returned empty-handed after it vanished without living aura or emotional residue. She insisted the watcher was not human, as the hidden summoner assumption protected him. Moonlight crossed the wall calendar and illuminated the final day before the national tournament. As victory created greater responsibility, every mystery since Sumu's awakening now pointed toward people, demons, and institutions watching the same farmer they once considered harmless. The following morning, thousands of students filled the sports field, while exam officials separated candidates by occupation. Sumu stood at the rear of the life profession zone with his straw hat, hoe, and no visible armor. A buzz-cut student mocked his cheap equipment until Guing Han arrived with the blue lizard on her shoulder. She exposed the weakness of the boy's leather armor, and one hostile glance from her beast drove him back into the crowd. Sumu's decision to perform publicly carried danger because visibility attracted both universities and hidden enemies, while Sumu protected the farm's secret, remaining weak in public. However, would block access to the resources needed for his investigation. As 2 rare beast users compared experiences, he chose controlled exposure, planning to reveal Daozai while keeping Lilith, the farm, and grafting concealed if possible. The tournament's 2 scoring paths appeared designed to protect life occupations from total disadvantage. Under rules favoring both talent and aggression, Sumu recognized that combat classes still dominated because stronger students could steal gathered resources without penalty, with every official forced to keep watching. His solution was not to complain about unfair rules. Under pressure from hundreds of live feeds, he entered prepared to make stealing from the farmer more dangerous than fighting the monsters themselves. While every crop carried battlefield potential, that confidence came from days of proving every peaceful skill possessed a lethal interpretation. With the rock-armored bear blocking escape, Sumu and Guing Han exchanged a quiet look before the head examiner announced the rules. While both teenagers prepared for the tournament, every candidate would enter a designated secret realm for 6 hours, with points awarded for materials and monster kills. Emergency wristbands could summon rescue, but using one ended the exam and froze the candidate's current score. A massive machine unfolded at the field center and opened a pale green teleportation curtain. As first place changed hands immediately, Sumu lowered his hat and stepped through with the crowd. Determined to let results answer every insult, he appeared alone in a tropical forest, where a level 5 carnivorous flower attacked before his boots settled. One weeding strike destroyed the plant from root to bloom and earned his first combat points. while university recruiters watched every movement. A moonlight mushroom behind the ambush site provided equal gathering points, giving him a balanced start within seconds. Daozai crushed a green serpent emerging from the brush before it completed its first hiss. Before the drake's next rapid evolution, the farm dimension was restricted during the examination, preventing Sumu from storing bodies while observers watched every candidate. Lilith also remained hidden because her abyss aura would expose secrets he had no safe way to explain. The exam rules rewarded gathering professions, but they contained no ban against stealing another student's materials. While university recruiters watched every movement, unofficial teams could also form freely, creating an obvious opportunity for stronger candidates to prey on isolated examinees. Sumu and Daozai advanced deeper through the ancient forest, while the dragon eliminated centipedes and other ambush predators. A 4-meter rock-armored bear suddenly charged from the brush and blocked the path, while Sumu remained unaware of his audience. The teleportation placed candidates alone to prevent established school teams from controlling every valuable zone immediately. As Daozai drew the observers' full attention, random arrival also exposed weaker students during the first minutes before alliances could form. Under conditions no student had prepared for, Sumu's instant carnivorous flower kill proved the system had placed him inside terrain perfectly suited to weeding. Collecting the moonlight mushroom demonstrated that he still respected the gathering half of the examination. As victory created greater responsibility, the green serpent's death showed Daozai had learned to guard blind angles after the rock serpent ambush days earlier, locking the farm dimension limited storage, but did not sever Sumu's bond with creatures already grown there. He left Lilith hidden because one visible pulse of royal abyss energy could transform an exam into a military investigation. Daozai was easier to explain as a contracted beast, though its rank remained impossible by known standards. The wristband identified it as a level 10 first-tier demonic beast, worth far more than every earlier target. Inside the observation hall, school principals and university recruiters watched hundreds of holographic feeds while discussing promising candidates. Most attention focused on A-rank fighters, hidden mages, and students from influential families. As victory created greater responsibility, Guinghan's father ignored the leaderboard and watched a small screen showing the straw-hatted farmer. Under the blue lizard's suspicious attention, another principal noticed the silver beast beside Sumu and ordered his feed enlarged across the central display. The entire hall fell silent when Daozai released true dragon breath against the armored bear, with mythic blood changing every calculation. Veteran tutors recognized pure blood dragon power immediately and refused to believe a newly awakened student could command it. A recruiter from Magic City University stood so quickly that his chair crashed behind him. As Daozai drew the observer's full attention, the Kyoto University tutor claimed Sumu publicly before anyone even confirmed the boy's occupation. Before the public score could settle, every other recruiter secretly contacted senior leadership, demanding authority and resources to compete for the unknown prodigy. On screen, the bear's giant paw crashed down as Sumu slid aside and buried the hoe in the ground. Loosened soil trapped the beast's front leg, cracked its stone armor, and created the opening Daozai had been waiting for. The drake fired a charged breath into the bear's face, then dove and crushed its armored skull with one claw. The entire battle lasted less than 2 minutes and awarded Sumu 700 points. While Sumu remained unaware of his audience, his name jumped into first place, leaving a dramatic gap between the farmer and every celebrated combat genius. Sumu only regretted that the valuable corpse could not be transported to his farm under so many watching eyes. He allowed Daozai to eat the rocky armor, then continued deeper while the observation hall erupted over the weakest class, taking first place. The rock-armored bear created the exact kind of public proof the title promise required, with every official forced to keep watching. Its level and first-tier status placed it above newly awakened students who had not completed advancement. Rock plating protected the skull, shoulders, and joints while increasing the creature's total weight. Under conditions no student had prepared for, Sumu attacked the earth beneath that weight instead of challenging the armor directly. As first place changed hands immediately, the bear committed its front paw to a crushing strike, allowing loosened soil to trap the limb at maximum depth. Cracks across the stone shell revealed the skill's defense erosion before Daozai used its charged attack. Before the drake's next rapid evolution, the drake waited instead of rushing, showing discipline developed through repeated fights beside Sumu. While Sumu measured its impossible statistics, its first breath stunned the bear without wasting energy on protected torso plates. While university recruiters watched every movement, the follow-up claw concentrated mythic strength onto the fractured skull and ended the battle cleanly. As the newborn dragon learned from Sumu, 700 points reflected both level and tier, instantly dwarfing the small gains earned from ordinary monsters. The live leaderboard transformed an isolated victory into public evidence across every school. With isolated candidates facing hidden danger, principals who had accepted Sumu's farmer certification now watched his name outrank their prized combat students. Under a leaderboard visible to every school, university tutors cared less about the class label than the pure blood dragon visible on screen. Before the principals understood Sumu's occupation, each recruiter understood that controlling such a beast could reshape national summoner research under conditions no student had prepared for. Their argument over ownership ignored the more important question of how the dragon had appeared. As loyalty formed without any forced contract, Guinghan's father remained quieter because he already knew official records called Sumu a farmer. While their strange friendship developed naturally, that contradiction made the boy more valuable and more dangerous than a rare summoner. As Daozai drew the observer's full attention, Sumu's regret over the corpse revealed how completely the farm had changed his value system. As one experiment created permanent growth, other candidates saw a dead boss worth points and materials. Under rules favoring both talent and aggression, he saw future soil, pet nutrition, mutation potential, and construction resources trapped in one body, inside a farm becoming its own settlement. Allowing Daozai to eat publicly offered a natural explanation for the dragon's continued growth. As the first harvest protected its master, the feeding also removed evidence that might invite detailed biological examination after the test. Before rival students could form alliances, while recruiters fought over Sumu, a different battle began inside a distant valley beyond the main observation routes. A level 9 shadow assassin named Qin Shua found an examinee kneeling motionless while black mist poured from every opening in his face. The mist gathered into a human shape, and the scene's unnatural silence warned Qin Shua that this was no exam monster. A twig snapped beneath his boot before he could retreat. Under pressure from hundreds of live feeds, the entity vanished from the kneeling body and reappeared with one spectral hand around Qin Shua's throat. His dagger fell uselessly as the creature lifted him from the ground and studied him like a replacement vessel. Across the secret realm, other examinees stopped moving while similar black shapes hunted isolated students and supervising teachers. Observation staff noticed frozen feeds and ordered nearby proctors to investigate. While communications remained completely severed, several instructors answered the first call, but most vanished from communication before reaching their assigned coordinates. As victory created greater responsibility, one surviving proctor reported that a student had been drained of blood and soul until nothing human remained. He declared the highest emergency level. Then his transmission ended in a burst of static. While the tropical forest concealed ambushes, every principal and recruiter abandoned their argument as the central screens cut to black. Before rival students could form alliances, the displays returned, showing the same shadow fiend holding a terrified examinee above the ground. As the Abyss operation tightened around Joning, it demanded the release of a captured Abyss Lord's offspring and threatened to kill every human inside the realm. To prove the threat, it broke the student's neck before the entire observation hall. Before the prisoner exchange could be completed, officials ordered military support. But technicians discovered the teleportation gates and communication arrays had been sealed from within. Opening the realm by force risked spatial turbulence that would kill students and monsters alike. As Daozai drew the observer's full attention, a 3-hour countdown appeared across every screen, placing thousands of young lives beneath the fiend's ultimatum. Guinghan's father crushed a steel thermos in one hand when he realized his daughter was trapped with no outside rescue. Military records showed the strongest instructor inside was only level 32, while the attacker's true leader remained unknown. Deep in the forest, Sumu noticed his wristband fill with garbled code and assumed Lilith had damaged it while gaming. Moving deeper prevented competitors from surrounding him after seeing the leaderboard. As victory created greater responsibility, it also forced recruiters to follow his feed rather than returning attention to conventional talents, as gathering and combat points accumulated. Meanwhile, the first Shadow Fiend killings occurred outside popular routes where screens received less human attention. Under scarlet eyes and spectral pressure, the attackers selected isolated students because fear and confusion spread faster when disappearances lacked witnesses. Before the spectral core escaped into shadow, Qin Shua's assassin training helped him notice the possessed examinee, but offered no defense against a spectral grip. Shadow Fiends treated human bodies as temporary containers, explaining why missing proctors later appeared beneath fading mist. Their infiltration transformed every familiar face into a possible enemy. Before the examination became a hostage crisis, the public execution on the central screen targeted adult decision-makers as much as trapped students, as gathering and combat points accumulated. By killing one hostage, the Fiend proved the countdown was not a bluff. Before the hostage exchange reached its deadline, sealing communication prevented instructors from coordinating or learning enemy weaknesses from outside experts. Under pressure from hundreds of live feeds, the demand for a royal offspring revealed the invasion's objective without exposing the collaborator who enabled it. For Sumu, the broken wristband removed rankings, maps, and emergency support at the same time, under conditions no student had prepared for. He stood inside a national exam that had silently become a hostage battlefield before another fiend emerged from darkness. The dragon that made him famous minutes earlier now became one of the few weapons capable of damaging the invaders. The farmer's public triumph therefore created responsibility before he had time to enjoy a single point, with every resource gaining a second purpose. Before he could question her, a pitch-black figure stepped from the bushes and fixed scarlet eyes on him. The creature possessed no clear face, yet its aura carried the same abyss quality surrounding Lilith. Before the queen demanded another expensive reward, Sumu asked where it came from, buying time while searching his memory for any recorded human class matching its body. The fiend ignored his question and instead asked which abyss bloodline he served. Under a leaderboard visible to every school, Lilith's aura had remained on Sumu after their repeated contact, causing the creature to mistake him for something connected to demon royalty. He took the gamble, entered the farm with part of his consciousness, and woke Lilith by flicking her forehead. Before she could scream, he ordered her to release the smallest possible trace of royal abyss pressure. A thin crimson mist left her finger, and outside the farm, an ancient noble presence settled around Sumu's body. The Shadow Fiend immediately dropped to one knee and addressed him as an emissary. As Sumu balanced deception against combat, Sumu lowered the hoe and answered with a silent nod, knowing that too many words would expose his ignorance. Believing the disguise, the fiend explained that humans captured a lord's offspring during a border raid 6 months earlier. The prisoner had been moved secretly to a research facility near Joning after its power was sealed. 2 Abyss squads infiltrated the examination realm to recover it, commanded by a level 49 captain named Bruce. The number terrified Sumu because Bruce stood at the peak of Tier 4, far beyond anyone Sumu could fight directly. He maintained a cold expression and demanded to know who allowed their infiltration. With physical attacks passing through black mist, the Shadow Fiend revealed a collaborator inside Yoning's leadership had sabotaged the teleportation array and communications. Before the hidden collaborator could be exposed, every student was now a hostage. While the strongest human instructor had already fled with fatal injuries, Sumu claimed he was performing a secret mission for the Abyss Witch and ordered the fiend not to interfere. The creature bowed deeply and disappeared into the trees, promising to die before disrupting the queen's plans. Only after it vanished did Sumu release the breath he had been holding, while communications remained completely severed. Cold sweat soaked his back, but the bluff had transformed a fatal encounter into the intelligence humanity desperately needed. Lilith identified the enemy as a Shadow Fiend, a spectral infiltrator nearly immune to physical attacks. While fear spread faster than accurate information, purification, dispelling magic, and direct soul damage could destroy their cores. While Prune targeted the concealed spectral core, that meant Sumu's Prune skill and Daozai's dragon energy could hurt them. Though level suppression remained extremely dangerous, Lilith warned him to run immediately if Bruce appeared, because a level 49 core would reduce Prune to a minor sting. The first Shadow Fiend's question gave Sumu a narrow path between immediate death and dangerous deception, as soul damage became the only reliable answer. Answering with human terminology would expose him, while silence could be interpreted as the arrogance of superior blood. Lilith's royal aura supplied proof stronger than any invented title, with every argument revealing more Abyss knowledge. The Fiend's kneeling posture confirmed that Abyss Society obeyed bloodline hierarchy even during covert operations, with no working portal available for retreat. Sumu's demand for operational progress sounded natural because powerful emissaries valued results over introductions. Under scarlet eyes and spectral pressure, every answer revealed enemy strength, objectives, and internal confidence without requiring torture or combat. Before another human vessel could be taken, learning about the Level 49 captain defined the limit of Sumu's current courage. Under scarlet eyes and spectral pressure, he could protect students from weaker fiends, but confronting Bruce would sacrifice everyone following him. As soul damage became the only reliable answer, the hidden collaborator explained why barriers, transport records, and surveillance failed simultaneously. With no working portal available for retreat, it also connected the exam attack to the wider institutional conspiracy surrounding the northern border, with hidden forces already monitoring survivors. Lilith's warning about spectral immunity prevented Sumu from relying on Daozai's claws alone. While converted instructors hunted their own pupils, Prune's direct soul damage gave him a rare counter, but using it required closing distance against faster enemies. Daozai's breath carried enough dragon nature to disturb spectral bodies even without purification runes. While communications remained completely severed, their combined method therefore required terrain control, core exposure, and precise timing. While converted instructors hunted their own pupils, Sumu decided to preserve the emissary identity while targeting weaker fiends only when survivors needed help. While communications remained completely severed, elsewhere, Guinghan sprinted through the forest with 2 Level 29 shadow fiends gliding close behind. Her blue lizard filled the trail with water mist, but one spectral swipe shredded the concealment instantly. A glowing sword crossed the path and cut the leading fiend apart with golden dispelling runes. Under scarlet eyes and spectral pressure, Teacher Qi, an injured exam supervisor, had intercepted the attackers before they reached Guinghan. As the Abyss operation tightened around Joning, the surviving fiend wounded Qi's arm and abdomen, then retreated after recognizing the purification enchantment on her blade. When the fallen creature's mist cleared, an emaciated human face appeared beneath it before another human vessel could be taken. Teacher Qi recognized the victim as another supervisor named Xiao Zhang, converted into a vessel against his will. Despite losing blood rapidly, Qi refused Guinghan's help and ordered her to gather students toward the eastern forest. The teacher insisted Joning could not lose its entire young generation and staggered deeper to rescue anyone still alive. Outside, military leaders admitted they had captured the requested demon offspring and transferred it to a research facility 2 months earlier. Teacher Qi's rescue of Guinghan showed the cost paid by adults still fighting inside the sealed realm. Her dispelling sword could kill a fiend, but each exchange opened wounds ordinary healing could not easily close. Recognizing a colleague beneath the mist turned every victory into grief. Inside a realm controlled by shadow fiends, the enemy had weaponized Joning's own instructors against their students. Before another fiend emerged from darkness, Qi's decision to continue despite fatal injuries reflected the protective duties Sumu associated with his parents. With physical attacks passing through black mist, her instruction to gather survivors gave Guinghan a mission beyond personal escape. As 2 rare beast users compared experiences, that classified truth confirmed a high-ranking mole had provided the attackers with transportation records and access codes. The military could deliver the prisoner, but moving its containment unit would consume precious time. With military secrets shaping every decision, an elderly official collapsed while begging them to save his grandson, the last family remaining after his son died at the Abyss front. A lieutenant general silenced the room and announced that headquarters approved an exchange, while the 3rd Brigade waited outside. Transporting the captive would take 30 minutes, leaving students to survive until the portal could be opened safely. Inside the realm, Daozai detected another shadow fiend near a mist-covered valley and guided Sumu through dense brush. They found a wounded examinee pinned to the ground by a black thorn growing across half his spine. Sumu threw a stone away from the victim, drawing the hidden fiend's attention toward the sound. With Bruce still far beyond Sumu's level, the moment it moved, he attacked with Prune, while Daozai broke its mist barrier using dragon breath. The enemy recognized Lilith's aura and tried speaking, but Sumu refused to let another deception become necessary. He drove the hoe into its head, softened the ground beneath its body, and trapped the spectral form halfway inside the mud. Repeated prune strikes shattered the soul core until the level 28 fiend dissolved completely. As Sumu balanced deception against combat, the victory pushed Sumu to level 10, making him eligible for his first-class advancement. Once he returned to the farm, he removed the black thorn from the injured student and confirmed the frightened boy could still walk. Instead of heading toward the sealed exit, Sumu continued into the mist, explaining that retreat meant nothing while every gate remained closed. The rescued examinee followed because the farmer with a dragon offered more safety than any direction on the broken map. Daozai soon located another confrontation involving familiar faces beneath a giant tree. As one tiny beast overturned known rules, Xiao Minga stood with shattered armor and half a great sword, while a girl named Sunlinger protected him with purification magic. Laya had abandoned them during the attack, leaving the berserker trapped against the same monsters he once believed weak classes could never fight. Sunlinger spent her final spell damaging a shadow fiend, and Sumu rushed through the opening before its core recovered. His hoe and Daozai's breath destroyed the host, revealing another dead examinee beneath the fading mist. As loosened soil erased stable footing, the rescued young man turned out to be Sunlinger's brother, giving the exhausted group a reason to trust Sumu immediately. Xiao Minga stared at the farmer he had mocked, then forced out an embarrassed thank you. Inside land that answered only to Sumu, Sumu ordered everyone capable of breathing to stand, reminding them that a farmer was not carrying armored fighters through the forest. Xiao Minga dragged him behind a bush and unexpectedly dropped to both knees, with physical attacks passing through black mist. He apologized for every insult, blamed Laya for manipulating him, and called Sumu father in desperate hope of receiving protection. Sumu walked away in confusion, leaving Xiao Minga pretending to search the dirt. When Sunlinger asked why he was kneeling, the group expanded to 7 survivors, with Sumu leading and Daozai searching for demonic scent ahead. Under power, no beginner should command. Nobody behind them laughed at the hoe anymore, with Bruce still far beyond Sumu's level. The weapon had already killed enemies their expensive classes could barely see, under an enemy capable of stealing identities. After another stretch of tense travel, Daozai growled toward movement inside the bushes, as loyalty formed without any forced contract. Sumu followed the same principle independently when Daozai detected the wounded examinee, with no valuable remains left behind. Throwing a stone tested whether the victim was genuine bait before exposing his position. Under a countdown threatening thousands of students, the hidden fiend's reaction confirmed the trap and allowed Sumu to attack first, before another fiend emerged from darkness. Level 10 marked more than another statistic because it opened his first advancement path. While communications remained completely severed, he postponed that upgrade because leaving endangered students to enter the farm would waste critical minutes. While fertilizer rewrote ordinary class limits, finding Xiao Minga damaged by the same threat erased the social hierarchy from Awakening Day. Before the hostage exchange reached its deadline, expensive armor, a rank talent, and family wealth meant little against an enemy immune to ordinary steel. Sunlinger's last purification charge created an opening only Sumu could exploit fully, as Sumu balanced deception against combat. His refusal to celebrate saving Xiao Minga prevented old resentment from distracting the group. Before the hidden collaborator could be exposed, the berserker's kneeling apology looked ridiculous, but fear had finally forced honest recognition of Sumu's power. While converted instructors hunted their own pupils, Guinghan's arrival raised the stakes because Sumu now had someone he personally trusted in immediate danger. Guinghan stumbled into view, wounded and breathless, while her exhausted blue lizard slid from her shoulder. She recognized Sumu and shouted for him to run before 2 shadow fiends burst from the foliage behind her. Sumu planted the hoe and transformed a 10-meter circle into sticky mud, with no working portal available for retreat. Both charging creatures lost their footing and buried their lower bodies before they understood the terrain had changed. He grabbed Guinghan's arm, pulled her from their path, and carried her several meters away. As Guinghan refused to judge his occupation, 2 additional fiends emerged from hiding, one targeting Sumu while the other circled toward the weaker survivors. Sunlinger raised a thin purification barrier, But her depleted magic could not hold against repeated spectral strikes. Sumu placed one hand on Daozai's head and activated grafting for the first time. Before the spectral core escaped into shadow, white light wrapped around farmer and dragon while the surviving students watched his human outline begin to change. Silver scales spread across Sumu's arms. A strong tail formed behind him, and his eyes became golden slits. Mythic dragon statistics flooded his body so quickly that the ground seemed lighter beneath his feet. Before the spectral core escaped into shadow, the attacking shadow fiend leaped from darkness, expecting the fragile summoner body it had targeted moments earlier. Sumu's new tail struck first and launched the level 28 creature through 3 trees. With Guinghan watching the impossible transformation, Sunlinger's brother could only stare as the farmer transformed into something stronger than his battle pet. Sumu stamped the ground again, doubling Lucent Soil's range until a 20-meter swamp swallowed every stable path. He moved across the mud like solid stone, accelerated with Daozai's strength, and reached the recovering fiend instantly. The hoe produced a sonic crack when it struck, flipping the spectral body completely through the air. Physical force distorted the mist but could not break the hidden core. So Sumu followed with amplified prune. White soul light wrapped the blade and split the core, leaving an invigilator's corpse to fall into the swamp. The second fiend almost broke Sunlinger's barrier before Sumu covered his hoe with dragon breath and threw it like a spear. The glowing weapon pierced the monster's torso and stopped its escape into shadow. As Sumu balanced deception against combat, Sumu crossed the distance, grabbed the damaged core, and released Prune with a point-blank breath attack. Another converted invigilator emerged when the black mist vanished. Under scarlet eyes and spectral pressure, Xiao Minga silently thanked every ancestor who had convinced him to kneel before this transformation appeared. While Prune targeted the concealed spectral core, Guinghan struggled to understand how a supposed summoner could merge physically with a dragon. Before her influential family investigated him, the 15-minute fusion ended early because Daozai had exhausted every reserve maintaining that overwhelming state. Under scales formed through the grafting skill, scales, tail, and golden eyes disappeared, while the drake returned to the farm completely drained. Before another breath attack changed the battle, Sumu's own vision split into overlapping images, and his legs collapsed beneath him, under a countdown threatening thousands of students. Guinghan caught him before he struck the ground, holding the unconscious farmer against her chest, before missing scouts proved the danger. Carrying her away from the mud, placed his body between her and 4 pursuing fiends. With physical attacks passing through black mist, grafting began with contact because the farm treated Daozai as compatible living stock. As the first fusion exceeded every expectation, the transformation altered eyes, skin, balance, lungs, and muscle density simultaneously, with Bruce still far beyond Sumu's level. Sumu's first tail strike used instinct inherited from Daozai rather than learned human movement, as the first harvest protected its master. Expanding Lucent Soil after fusion showed skills also benefited from the dragon's greater energy and physical output. The sonic force of his hoe strike shocked allies, but spectral immunity prevented false confidence. With no working portal available for retreat, Prune remained the decisive weapon because visible destruction meant nothing until the hidden soul core broke, with physical attacks passing through black mist. Coating the thrown hoe with dragon breath combined range, penetration, and soul disturbance in one attack. While Daozai's mythic instincts continued developing, the second kill protected the exhausted purification barrier before Sunlinger's magic collapsed. With Bruce still far beyond Sumu's level, fusion ending early proved the 15-minute limit was only theoretical when Daozai lacked enough stamina. Before the spectral core escaped into shadow, Sumu accepted the collapse because the group survived and both attacking cores were destroyed. Before another fiend emerged from darkness, Guinghan catching him reversed their earlier forest encounter. When her beast had saved him from the rock serpent, the stronger hidden fiends could have ended them during that weakness. With physical attacks passing through black mist, Lilith's unauthorized intervention turned Sumu's reckless exhaustion into another successful abyss bluff. With every argument revealing more abyss knowledge, 2 stronger shadow fiends watched from distant shrubs and prepared to kill him during the vulnerable moment. One fiend stopped the other, convinced the royal emissary had only pretended to collapse so humans would trust his secret mission. Their argument ended when Sumu's eyes opened with an unnatural violet glow. before another human vessel could be taken. The body was awake, but the consciousness controlling it was no longer his own. Under military decisions made outside the realm, Lilith had seized the body through their crop contract, while Sumu and Daozai remained unconscious inside their shared mental space. Royal abyss pressure poured from his violet eyes and struck the two hidden fiends like an execution order. She sent a single thought commanding them to leave, and both level 30 monsters dropped to their knees, convinced they stood before a superior bloodline. The fiends disappeared without daring to question the order. As every rescued student increased responsibility, Lilith settled more comfortably in Guinghan's arms. Delighted by the freedom of controlling a full-sized human body, Guinghan never noticed the change in consciousness, though Sumu's violet eyes and suddenly playful expression felt strangely unfamiliar. Lilith called her name weakly and claimed the fusion had left Sumu near death. Before the spectral core escaped into shadow, Guinghan panicked, promising to grant one reasonable request if it helped him remain conscious. As cautious messages created unexpected trust, Lilith leaned close enough to make the girl's face burn red, then asked to borrow 20,000 credits. The request shattered every romantic possibility Guinghan had imagined during those tense seconds. With her curiosity becoming genuine concern, she checked Sumu's forehead, wondering whether the transformation had damaged his brain. Under military decisions made outside the realm, Lilith insisted the money concerned a demon's life and demanded payment to an account named Queen Lilith after they escaped. Guinghan reluctantly agreed, still unable to understand why a dying boy cared about an online account. Lilith immediately stood with perfect energy, exposing that the emergency had been greatly exaggerated. Before Lilith found another way to rebel, Lilith controlled Sumu through a connection the farm contract normally reserved for protecting crops and master during emergencies. Her violet eyes represented active royal consciousness rather than another stage of dragon fusion. While frightened survivors hid behind purification light, the watching fiends interpreted every unusual detail according to their belief that he served the Abyss Queen. That misunderstanding protected the survivors more effectively than another exhausted battle could have. As Lilith recognized premium royal fertilizer, Lilith's request for credits revealed how completely human entertainment had corrupted the former level 97 monarch. Guinghan agreed because she believed Sumu's life might depend on satisfying one final wish. With the northern investigation remaining unspoken, the absurd negotiation also kept the frightened survivors distracted from nearby enemies for several seconds. Under bloodline authority older than the captive, outside, officials faced a brutal strategic choice between one dangerous prisoner and thousands of trapped students. As Wither shattered the heir's defense, inside the shared consciousness, she celebrated enough money to clear gaming debts and buy another limited edition dress. Outside the realm, military personnel rolled a transparent containment unit into the observation hall, with military secrets shaping every decision. Inside hung the captured Abyss Lord's offspring, restrained by energy collars around its neck, wrists, and ankles. The Lieutenant General faced the Shadow Fiend's image and announced that the demanded prisoner had arrived. With every commander distrusting the bargain, the enemy refused to release any students until its people confirmed the young lord's safety inside the realm. Several officials protested that returning a creature with royal demon blood could create future catastrophe before Sumu regained control of his body. The general accepted the apparent exchange while secretly ordering spatial mages and the 3rd Special Operations Brigade to prepare an immediate assault. Once the portal reopened, soldiers would lock its coordinates and kill every abyss creature before any extraction could occur. A rankless military expert materialized behind the general and received a more ruthless instruction. Beneath the demon heir's crushing royal pressure, if necessary, sacrificing some students was authorized to prevent the royal offspring from returning alive to the abyss. The containment unit crossed the reopened teleportation curtain, and the gateway sealed again before the brigade could follow. Inside a secluded valley, Bruce stood beside a blood-covered formation carved across the ground. As Sumu balanced deception against combat, Shadow Fiends dragged unconscious examinees into the circle and cut their throats to feed its glowing crimson channels. The teleportation formation required enormous life energy, turning captured students into fuel for the escape route. With Guinghan shielding Sumu instinctively, Bruce ordered every living creature in the valley seized while he waited for the Lord's offspring, while the clearing remained completely silent. Beneath his mission, A personal promise drove him forward. While every survivor expected immediate death, he intended to return the young lord home and prevent the child from ever being conscripted to the front lines. Elsewhere, Lilith walked in Sumu's body beside Gwinghan, while the rescued students followed at a cautious distance. The queen's posture, expressions, and graceful movements looked so different that Gwinghan kept glancing sideways. As cautious messages created unexpected trust, Sunlinger whispered that the two seemed unusually close after Gwinghan had held Sumu during his collapse. Lilith heard every word with enhanced senses and nearly turned the situation into another joke, as the farm transformed corruption into life. The Lieutenant General's secret assault order showed the exchange was never based on trust, while commanders prepared a hidden assault. Authorizing student casualties exposed the same cold logic Lilith had criticized when discussing human civilization before another greedy decision caused trouble. Sumu's earlier defense of human order would soon be tested by leaders willing to sacrifice a minority for strategic security. Bruce's blood formation revealed that the Abyss rescue plan also treated lives as expendable resources. Before another fiend emerged from darkness, both sides claimed necessity, while students became pieces inside decisions they never made. As the royal fiend lost all dignity, the demon heir's arrival beside Sumu resulted from the same unstable teleportation network sabotaged by the enemy collaborator. Its containment collars limited energy, but preserved enough royal pressure to crush ordinary, newly awakened fighters. Under violet light from unstable restraints, she stopped, faced Gwinghan, and raised one hand as if preparing to pinch the girl's cheek. Space twisted violently behind them before her fingers made contact. While the entire observation hall watched, the captured demon heir fell from a spatial rupture, struck the grass, and struggled upright beneath 5 suppressing collars. Gwinghan instantly raised her staff, while every surviving examinee formed a desperate defensive line, with the northern investigation remaining unspoken. The royal shadow fiend inspected the group and saw only level 10 humans it would normally consider insects. Months of imprisonment, experiments, soul extraction, and vivisection had filled it with uncontrollable bloodlust. As the royal fiend lost all dignity, it lifted one claw to slaughter the nearest student, then sensed the Abyss royalty occupying Sumu's body. Confusion replaced hunger for one moment, because the bloodline felt ancient, yet belonged to no ruling house it recognized. The heir decided blood mattered more than identity, and released enough demonic pressure to drop weaker students to the ground, even with its true power sealed. Sunlinger and her brother could barely remain conscious, as Lilith recognized premium royal fertilizer. Gwinghan stepped in front of Sumu, using her exhausted body as a shield against the creature's killing intent. Lilith placed a hand on Gwinghan's shoulder and gently moved her aside. While Sumu protected the farm's secret, the queen advanced with undisguised greed, viewing the royal fiend as both premium fertilizer and valuable blood for herself. The demon heir interpreted that expression as unbearable disrespect from a weak human. Before the suicide detonation could complete, it formed a black shadow spear and hurled it directly at Sumu's borrowed body. Before the ordinary farm sack closed, Lilith connected to the farm dimension, released a fragment of her true core, and allowed royal pressure to fill the clearing. The spear stopped half a meter from her chest before breaking into harmless black wisps beneath the demon heir's crushing royal pressure. The heir's rage vanished as soul-crushing bloodline authority forced both knees into the ground. As Wither shattered the heir's defense, it recognized the presence before it as a sovereign far older and purer than its own father. Lilith cut off its question, transformed loosened soil through abyss magic, and used Wither against its defensive energy. The armor surrounding the heir shattered instantly, leaving the restrained creature unable to resist. Before Sumu regained control of his body, she grabbed its neck with one hand and lifted it from the ground while its life force drained away. Panic replaced pride when the heir understood that the sovereign intended to kill it. Before Sumu regained control of his body, rather than accept death, it connected its mind to the 5 human collars and overloaded their suppression arrays. Blue light erupted from every restraint as the devices prepared to explode with enough force to destroy the clearing. Lilith realized too late that her greed had triggered a suicide attack. As her insults concealed growing attachment, she prepared to burn her limited core essence. But the mortal danger jolted Sumu awake inside the shared consciousness. Gwinghan stepping forward despite exhaustion, showed she valued Sumu beyond curiosity about his dragon before her father recognized Daozai's bloodline. Lilith, moving her aside, protected the girl without admitting concern, while Daozai treated her like an annoying toy. The queen wanted fertilizer, blood, money, and recognition. Yet her actions repeatedly kept Sumu's allies alive. Before Lilith found another way to rebel, her wither adaptation proved farm skills could change expression depending on the power channeled through Sumu's body. The demon heir's bloodline ranked above common shadow fiends, but remained beneath Lilith's ancient sovereign authority. Beneath the demon heir's crushing royal pressure, that hierarchy destroyed its confidence before physical restraint became necessary. While every survivor expected immediate death, overloading the collars used human technology as a weapon against the same students it was designed to protect. Sumu, awakening at the exact moment of detonation, preserved the farm master while preventing Lilith from spending irreplaceable core essence. He did not understand the scene, but Prune targeted the mental connection rather than the glowing devices themselves. The violet color left his eyes as control of the body returned to its rightful owner. As the royal fiend lost all dignity, Sumu opened his eyes, holding a royal shadow fiend by the throat. With 5 collars shining like unstable stars, he had no time to ask why Guinghan looked horrified or why every student was lying in the grass. Instinct guided his hand toward the hoe. While the entire observation hall watched, Sumu activated Prune twice and struck before the air could complete the mental detonation. Under humiliation, no abyss noble imagined. The first blow severed its connection to the collars, with repeated soul strikes ending resistance. The second crashed into its spine, disrupting the remaining energy until every blue light faded. Before the captured air could recover, silence returned to the clearing, broken only by Sumu's exhausted breathing. While the clearing remained completely silent, Lilith immediately told him the creature carried royal blood and qualified as the finest fertilizer they had ever encountered. That single phrase gave Sumu all the motivation he needed to secure it before asking questions. Beneath the demon heir's crushing royal pressure, he dropped the stunned heir and pulled a giant woven farm sack from storage. As discarded material became living power, the watching students expected a sealing tool, a legendary chain, or some advanced summoner technique. With repeated soul strikes ending resistance, Sumu simply covered the royal demon's head with the fertilizer sack. As commanders recognized their escaped prisoner, the creature read the cheap agricultural label printed across the fabric before darkness and chemical smell swallowed its vision. Humiliation reignited its resistance, and the sack began thrashing across the ground. Under humiliation, no abyss noble imagined. Sumu frowned, raised the hoe, and struck the moving bundle twice with Prune. Under violet light from unstable restraints, the air continued struggling, so the farmer delivered several more controlled blows until its limbs became still. He folded every protruding arm and leg neatly into the bag, wrapped cord around the opening, and tied 3 secure loops. 2 minutes earlier, this creature had nearly killed everyone with an overloaded containment system. As the royal fiend lost all dignity, now it looked like an oversized harvest prepared for transport. While every survivor expected immediate death, Sunlinger asked Xiao Minga whether Sumu always fought enemies this way. Before Sumu regained control of his body, the berserker backed away and whispered that even a tiger should not devour its own children. Beneath the demon heir's crushing royal pressure, Guinghan stared at the sack over Sumu's shoulder and finally understood his earlier statement about a demon's life. Her promised 20,000 credits had apparently been negotiated by someone else using his body. While the clearing remained completely silent, Sumu had no memory of the loan and focused entirely on whether the captured fiend could improve his farm. At that moment, the jammed surveillance network outside flickered back online. Before Sumu regained control of his body, every giant screen in the observation hall displayed Sumu beating the restrained demon heir with a hoe. Military commanders, principals, and university tutors watched him fold the royal limbs into a fertilizer sack. As the royal fiend lost all dignity, the lieutenant general froze with a cup halfway to his mouth. As the deadline continued falling, an officer identified the 5 containment collars and confirmed that the bagged creature was the exact prisoner used in the exchange. No official had imagined a level 10 farmer would neutralize a royal demon their laboratory could barely contain. Guinghan's father saw his daughter standing unharmed beside Sumu and finally released the pressure crushing his chest. The The first strike interrupted control, and the second prevented the air from rebuilding concentration. With repeated soul strikes, ending resistance, choosing a fertilizer sack instead of a ceremonial seal matched Sumu's practical view of every enemy resource. Repeated blows were not empty cruelty. Each prune strike reduced resistance without killing the valuable royal specimen. The student's silence came from watching a cosmic threat handled like an animal caught stealing crops, under the farm master's absolute authority. Zhao Ming's fear completed the reversal begun when he offered Sumu work on a spiritual farm, with future harvests depending on this choice. The wealthy berserker now depended on that farmer to carry the strongest enemy in the realm. While every crop carried battlefield potential, Oinghan connected Lilith's strange loan request to the captured demon, but still lacked the truth about possession. The restored surveillance feed delivered the most humiliating possible image of the Abyss heir to both human and demon observers. Military officers recognized containment equipment that had required a specialized laboratory to manage, as the Abyss demanded proof of safety. Sumu had neutralized the same prisoner using a wooden-handled hoe, soul damage, and an agricultural sack. University recruiters could no longer classify him as merely a rare summoner with an exceptional pet. Under a leaderboard visible to every school, his own class skills had produced the decisive result after Daozai became unavailable, under scales stronger than beginner armor. The rescued students reorganized around useful roles instead of rank, with healing, carrying, scouting, and defense shared among survivors. Recruiters who had fought over the dragon now realized the boy himself possessed abilities even more abnormal than his pet. The weakest occupation had controlled terrain, damaged souls, fused with a mythic beast, and captured an Abyss royal alive inside the realm. Sumu adjusted the heavy sack and checked every survivor for injuries before moving again. The students formed around him naturally, no longer waiting for combat classes or wealthy heirs to give orders. Xiaominga carried the wounded. Sunlinger saved her remaining magic, and Guinghan watched the surrounding shadows. Sumu placed himself at the front with the hoe ready, because the royal prisoner made them an obvious target. He did not call himself their leader, but every step behind him proved the group had already chosen one. The same classmates who once laughed at farming now followed tilled ground because it was the safest path through the forest. Even Guinghan's blue lizard stayed close to Daozai's absent scent, trusting the farmer who had protected its master. Lilith complained inside his mind about unpaid rewards, but Sumu postponed the argument until everyone escaped alive. He also sensed that the captured heir's blood could trigger another dangerous mutation inside the farm, as discarded material became living power. That opportunity could wait until every student reached safety, under the example his parents had left. The living students around him mattered more than fertilizer, while shadow fiends still controlled the realm, with Bruce still far beyond Sumu's level. For the first time since awakening, Sumu understood that his farm was not merely a shortcut toward personal strength. Every field, crop, beast, and worker could become protection for people who had nobody else capable of standing in front. That realization connected his growing power to the same choice his parents had supposedly made on the northern battlefield. They had held a line for civilians, while their son now carried survivors through an enemy-sealed forest. The comparison hurt, but it also gave him direction. While former mockers followed without complaint, Sumu tightened his grip on the hoe and promised himself that strength would reveal what truly happened to the 12th Legion. Before that future could begin, he needed to bring every student within reach out of this examination alive. Sumu's leadership emerged through decisions rather than speeches or formal authority, while former mockers followed without complaint. Protecting the group connected his present battle to the unanswered sacrifice of his parents. Before hidden enemies could erase the evidence, the farm system offered infinite possibilities, but those possibilities mattered only if he remained human enough to choose whom they served. Capturing the royal fiend proved the class could create, command, transform, weaken, and preserve life according to Sumu's judgment. The original mockery had focused on farming because everyone imagined only soil and grain, before the system revealed another hidden effect. They had never considered a farmer whose field accepted monsters, weapons, souls, dragons, and queens. While Lilith's wounded royal pride resisted, that misunderstanding became Sumu's greatest concealment and the foundation of his rise, with the captured royal proving his strength. On Awakening Day, Joning saw a failed genius carrying the occupation everyone dismissed. By the end of the crisis, the same city saw a farmer carrying an abyss royal as harvested cargo. Sumu had not escaped weakness by abandoning his class. He had discovered the terrifying truth hidden inside it. The weakest farmer had become the strongest shield, standing between Joning's students and certain death.